Good evening, everyone. My name is Shendong Zhao, and I'm assistant professor in SOC, School of Computing. Very happy to see you here. And I'm here to tell you a piece of work we did in our lab, HCI lab, about try to transform some real-world physical art into the digital world called Sandcanvas. Okay? So anybody here know what sand animation is? Have you seen any sand animation before? So just, I see some of you actually didn't see that, so I will give you a quick video to show you what sand animation exactly is. So can you play the video now? By clicking on that. Oops. Can you go back to the? I think yeah, you should use one. No, it's right here. You should click on the link. It should work. Just click on that. Oops, go back. Sorry. And sound. We have sound. So this is a quick show of what the physical real sand animation is. So sand animation actually is a very recent young art. But you can see that it's already getting a lot of popularities in the world. So this is a quick search on various keywords you can find about sand fantasy, sand animation on this topic in YouTube. And you can see that the top video here, which is presented actually a woman who is winning the Ukraine Got Talent, and she's performing sand animation and get more than 17 million viewers from YouTube on that video. So you can see that it's becoming a very popular and engaging art form in the internet. So why is this art form so engaging and so good about it? Right? It's quite popular. So let me show you the history of it a bit. So this art is said to be traced back to a Pacific island called Ni Vanuatu, and where these native people over there will use ashes to create those kind of ritual figures on the ground. And you can see that those are the simple figures that they created, and those figures they created is for some ritual purposes, and this is the kind of original form of sand animation in the past. But the modern sand animation is actually said to be start with Caroline Leaf. As you can see, the woman right here. And in 1968, she made a stop-motion animation film called Peter and the Wolf. And basically what she did is that she will create, she will make an image using sand, and then she will take a photo, and then make another image of sand and take a photo, and then she will make that into a video. And that video actually win a number of awards in the world, and that starts the modern sand animation. And later on, a Hungarian artist called Frank Karto, and he actually brings sand animation to the live performance. So as you can see, the sand animation is actually a little bit different from the traditional art form. That artists actually perform the artwork live on the stage, and they use the delicacy of their hands and move very quickly about and to create very interesting graphics. Right? So he is the first person to bring this art form into the public. And you can see that it's actually becoming more popular as a live performance than a stop-motion animation type of form for sand animation. So it is a very popular form. So how does that actually work? So actually the basic thing actually to make sand animation work is very simple. You just have to have a glass table, Okay? And then on the glass table, you will put some sand. It's not the normal sand you will pick up on the East Coast beach or West Coast beach. It's actually quite processed sand, very fine-grained sand. And then you will put a backlight on the bottom of it to shoot the light up. And then you can just making figures by doing that already. And of course, if you want to make stop-motion animations, you need to have a camera on the top to be able to take pictures and process that on the computer. So that's a setting for stop-motion animation for sand animations. And if you want to perform live performance, you have to actually have a projector and a large display. And if you want to look at how that works, you can look at the top one video on sand animation. And that's a live performance by the Ukrainian woman that's showing in the video. Okay? So it is a very, it's interesting why the sand animation is a very young art form and gains such a popularity in the world. Right? So this is an interesting question. So I want to see that in two unique aspects about this art form. So one is actually, I think it's the material as well as the setup that make this art form quite unique. Right? So it is using something which is sand. Sand is something that's transient. Right? It's movable. And it's fluid, and it's controllable. So thinking about some other art forms, such as oil painting, right? If you drop a drop of oil onto the paper or canvas, it cannot be really easily moved, right, once it's dry. But sand, on the other hand, it can be moved and manipulated very easily. And also, if some other movable things, it's contrary to some other movable things, such as ashes. Ashes are very, very fine grain, but then they are not so controllable, because if you have some wind, those ashes will just get into the air and become very dirty to control, right? So sand has this small granularity, but it has some certain weight, make it easy to manipulate, but also controllable. And also, it's very economically correct, right? If you want to teach your children about some drawing or painting or writing, you probably want them to practice on the sand, right? That will cost you $0, because they can just keep drawing that, and your pocket is not intact, right? But if you give them paper and ink, then pretty soon you have to go to a bank and get some money to buy new supplies for him, right? So sand has this very easy to economically correct, and this is a unique affordance to allow people to use it in a very, so people are thinking free about this. They don't have to think the correction cost about this. That's another unique form for sand. And third, sand allows you can add sand, it becomes add sand can be either the foreground or background, right? Think about it. If you have a lot of sand on it and you push into it, you create the white space is the foreground, and the sand is the background. But then you can also add sand onto an empty canvas, and then the sand becomes foreground. And the nice thing about Sandcanvas is that it allows you to transition in between seamlessly, right? And you can do it very quickly. So a last thing about the material is that you can see that from this. So by putting the backlight and you have the sand grains on it, it automatically gives you some kind of artistic feel. Like you can see that image right there created by sand. It looks very different. It has this kind of very remote feeling, have this kind of a little bit sadness right there. So that already conveys some artistic feeling right there. So that's a uniqueness about sand. And another unique thing about sand animation is that it's using the delicacy of your hand to perform everything. Okay? So our hand is, you look at that, I mean, compare with all the brushes you have to use to create oil painting, other things. You only have to use your two hands to produce all the kind of shapes and graphs that you have. And if you want to make a very large stroke, you can use your thumb, you can use your palm, right? If you want to use a small stroke, you just use your small finger and you can do all these things. And the transition in that is very seamless and fast and flexible. And everybody bring your two hands with you every day, right? So you don't have to, unlike a pen, if you forget it, I mean, it's going to be a trouble. And then it's additional costs that for you to perform something. But I think the success of iPad and iPhone is because you can use your hand, and you'll never forget your hand, right? So that's another very unique feature about being able to use your hand. So, so that's why we think that sand animation is, by combining sand with the whole hand gestures, plus this special tabletop setup, it gives you a kind of alive drawing. Okay? And the nice thing about the sand particle is that they actually, when you land them, so you don't really land exactly where it is. It's very hard to control which sand grain is land at which places, right? It's always a little bit randomness right there, which creates this kind of artistic feeling for you. And it has this very nice texture for you as well. And the drawing process itself is very enjoyable, right? Unlike the other art forms, such as oil painting and watercolor, I mean, you want to wait for a long time to be able to see what the final product will be. But sand animation, the drawing process itself is enjoyable because it's very fast and has a lot of surprising effect. Okay? So with that said, artists think this is a very exciting medium to perform. Okay? However, doing sand animation in real life is not as easy as you think. Okay? So first of all, there's some setup and maintenance cost. The table itself requires quite a large space and requires equipment for you to set up. And you have to buy special sand. Right? All these have some cost. Although this is not really huge problem for you to overcome, but that's some cost that you have to think about. And also, the sand being transit is an advantage itself, but also it's a disadvantage. Think about how can you preserve your artwork in sand animation. Right? Once you enjoy it, you create some very nice piece of art, but I mean, I cannot keep it for 1 year because it's just so hard to keep it, right? Because I want to reuse the surface to do it. And also, it's nice to have this sandy texture, which is kind of artistic, but it has one color, right? That's a bit disadvantage as well. And finally, the fluidity of sand is both advantage and disadvantage because sometimes artists want precise control of it. So let me show you another video just to show you, to illustrate those points. This is actually a video created by a New York artist. His name is Alec Ace, and he created stop motion animation using sand. And this is about a love story. So hope you enjoy this video. Okay, click on it. Oops. Click on it again. Click on just the, go back. Can you move the cursor? Yeah, can you click on it? Yes. Well, I hope the artist is here to receive your acknowledgement. I think he created a wonderful video. But my question here is that how much time you think the artist to spend to create this 2-minute video? How much time? Can anybody give me a guess? How many hours? How many months? Any guess? 10 hours. Okay, one person said here is 10 hours. Okay, any other answers? 2 months. 6 months. Okay, so the only way to find out is to ask the artist himself, right? So unfortunately, he's not here, but he is very kind to us. He actually created a blog to blogging his entire process. So let's go to his blog and find out how much time he spent on this artwork. So, well, first of all, he has this comment on his blog. He says that anybody who creates animation, it knows that it's going to be a very difficult thing. But if you want to do stop motion animation using sand, it takes it to another level. So it's very, very hard for him. So sometimes the sand is very enjoyable to work with. It's very fluid and nice. But oftentimes, it's taking over and over again to push the sand to the right edge to make the precise lines and texture that he wanted to do. So he spent a lot of time just to correcting the small mistakes. And it takes a lot of adding and subtracting of the sand just to create all these, right? So here's something about the time. He spent, on average, per hour to make a scene. So you guys all know that the video are made of keyframes, right? You have keyframes and you have evolvements. So each keyframe takes about an hour to make. And the subsequent animation that you want to make takes from 5 minutes to 1 hour, depending on the complexity of that. So because of the amount of time that it requires, he actually works very hard. He stays his lab, often stay about 12 hours per day, just straight working on this. And he cannot like doing full-time like that, but he spent 2 or 3 days in his lab just working on this project, and a total of 140 hours is used to create this video. So that's about a couple months if he do this patiently. So as you can see that creating sand animation in real life, stop motion animation is very difficult. So what our lab do is that we want to create a digital version of that so that it's allow people to create such things much easier. So now I introduce our work, which Sandcanvas. So can you play the video here? this is the work we created, and by combining the we bring the physical media into the digital media, and we add additional capabilities for that to enhance its aesthetics while keeping the original forms. So I want to give credit to my co-authors who actually did this work together. Rubaiyat is my PhD student in my lab, and Chris is undergraduate students who are working on a UROP project with me. And these are two of my collaborators, Richard Davis from SMU and Cockling from NUS SOC as well. And if you want to know more information about our work, you can visit our website at AUSHCI. And thank you very much.